Chapter 4: Socialization, Interaction, and Self. Quizlet. Nature versus nurture debate. The ongoing discussion of the respective roles of genetics and socialization in determining individual behaviors and traits. Socialization. The process of learning and internalizing the values, beliefs, and norms of our social group, by which we become functioning members of society. Sociobiology uses biological and evolutionary explanations for social behavior. Feral children. In myths and rare real-world cases, children who have had little human contact and may have lived in social isolation from a young age. Self. The individual's conscious, reflexive experience of a personal identity separate and distinct from other individuals. ID, ego, superego. According to Freud, the three interrelated parts that make up the mind, the ID consists of basic inborn drives that are the source of instinctive psychic energy. The ego is the realistic aspect of the mind that balances the forces of the ID and the superego. The superego has two components, the conscience and the ego ideal, and represents the internalized demands of society. Psychosexual stages of development. 4 distinct stages of the development of the self between birth and adulthood. According to Freud, personality quirks are a result of being fixated, or stuck, at any stage. Looking glass self. The notion that the self develops through our perception of others' evaluations and appraisals of us. Preparatory stage. The first stage in Mead's theory of the development of self, wherein children mimic or imitate others. Play stage. The second stage in Mead's theory of the development of self, wherein children pretend to play the role of the particular or significant other. Game stage. The third stage in Mead's theory of the development of self, wherein children play organized games and take on the perspective of the generalized other. Particular or significant other. The perspectives and expectations of a particular role that a child learns and internalizes. Generalized other. The perspectives and expectations of a network of others, or of society in general, that a child learns and then takes into account when shaping his or her own behavior. Dual nature of the self. The idea that we experience the self as both subject and object, the I and the me. Thomas theorem. If people define situations as real, they are real in their consequences. Definition of the situation. An agreement with others about what is going on in a given circumstance. This consensus allows us to coordinate our actions with those of others and realize goals. Expressions of behavior. Small actions such as an eye roll or head nod that serve as an interactional tool to help project our definition of the situation to others. Expressions given. Expressions that are intentional and usually verbal, such as utterances. Expressions given off. Observable expressions that can be either intended or unintended and are usually nonverbal. Impressions management. The effort to control the impressions we make on others so that they form a desired view of us and the situation. The use of self-presentation and performance tactics. Dramaturgy. An approach pioneered by Irving Goffman in which social life is analyzed in terms of its similarities to theatrical performance. Front. In the dramaturgical perspective, the setting, or scene of performances that helps establish the definition of the situation. Region. In which the performance takes place, including location, decor, and props. Personal front. The performance tactics we use to present ourselves to others, including appearance, costume, and manner. Backstage. The places in which we rehearse and prepare for our performances. Front stage. The places where we deliver our performances to an audience of others. Social construction. The process by which a concept or practice is created and maintained by participants who collectively agree that it exists. Cooling the mark out. Behaviors that help others to save face or avoid embarrassment, often referred to as civility or tact. Agents of socialization. Social institutions, including families. Agents of socialization. Social institutions, including families, peers, mass media, and schools. that help to shape individuals' basic political beliefs and values. Hidden curriculum. Values or behaviors that students learn indirectly over the course of their schooling. Resocialization. The process of replacing previously learned norms and values with new ones as a part of a transition in life. Total institutions. Institutions in which individuals are cut off from the rest of society so that they can be controlled and regulated for the purpose of systematically stripping away previous roles and identities in order to create new ones. Status. In a social hierarchy that carries a particular set of expectations. Ascribed status. A status that is inborn, usually difficult or impossible to change. Embodied status. A status generated by physical characteristics. Achieved status. A status earned through individual effort or imposed by others. Master status. A status that is always relevant and affects all other statuses we possess. Stereotyping. Judging others based on preconceived generalizations about groups or categories of people. Role. The set of behaviors expected of someone because of his or her status. Role conflict. Experienced when we occupy two or more roles with contradictory expectations. Role strain. Experienced when there are contradictory expectations within one role. Role exit. The process of leaving a role that we will no longer occupy. Role-taking emotions. Emotions like sympathy, embarrassment, or shame that require that we assume the perspective of another person or many other people and respond from that person or group's point of view. Feeling rules. Norms regarding the expression and display of emotions. Emotion work, emotional labor. The process of evoking, suppressing, or otherwise managing feelings to create a publicly observable display of emotion. Co-presence. Face-to-face interaction or being in the presence of others. Saturated self. A postmodern idea that the self is now developed by multiple influences chosen from a wide range of media sources. Agency. The ability to think, act, and make choices independently.